The sensor chirped twice sharp, metallic, urgent. Wrenn paused mid-step, boots sinking slightly into the wet forest floor. His fingers tightened around the stock of his rifle. Probably another scout beast, he thought. Maybe one of those mutated hounds with half a jaw and a nose for human salt. He'd set that trap near the ridge earlier, hoping for a clean catch. Just enough meat for a week, nothing ambitious. But the signal pattern, it was different. Slower, heavier. He moved through the underbrush, rain misting through the thick canopy, rifle up, steps silent from years of instinct. The jungle didn't breathe right tonight. The air was warm but didn't move. And ahead, swaying slightly between two moss-slicked trees, his trap hung. But it wasn't a beast. His breath hitched. A girl, no. Something shaped like one dangled upside down in the woven cable net. Not struggling, just watching him. Her hair spilled downward like molten firelight, glowing faintly in waves of amber and red. Her skin shimmered with an unnatural softness, like she was lit from inside. Not a human glow, a pulse. And her eyes, those weren't eyes meant for a planet like this. Too wide, too calm. She blinked at him once, head tilted, lips parted slightly. Then she spoke. Do it quick if you're going to eat me. Double quotes. Wrenn froze. Her voice wasn't shaking, not desperate, just resigned, steady, like she'd expected this. He lowered the barrel of his rifle slowly, brain catching up to what his eyes refused to believe. Eat you? He said. She gave a small nod, hanging still like some ancient jungle ornament. Meat, easy meat. I was careless. My fault. I don't eat people. Some say that. Then they bite. That made him blink. He stepped closer, knife sliding free with a whisper. The blade caught the net clean, sliced a main line, and the rest unraveled. She dropped like a cat, landing in a crouch, limbs balanced, one hand touching the ground, no stumble, no fear. Muscles coiled like she'd been ready to kill mid-air, but she didn't move. She just watched him. Wrenn didn't raise his weapon again. Something about her posture, it wasn't predator. It was defense. Layered defense. Her skin pulsed once, flickering through faint pink to a dull blue, like she was trying to hide her heartbeat. He took another cautious step forward. You're not from here. No? Name? She hesitated. Then, Scylla. Wrenn, he said, as if it mattered. The silence stretched long, damp, and strange between them. The wind barely touched the leaves above. He could hear his own pulse in his ears. Why didn't you run? He finally asked. Syl, a single quote's S eyes didn't leave his. Because it would not change what you are, Wrenn frowned. And what do you think I am? Same as the others, she said. Then, more quietly, like it hurt to say, only slower. That cut deeper than he expected. He looked down at his hands, at the scars and dirt and calluses that told a story no one ever asked to hear. Then he looked back up at her. But she was still there. Still watching. Not running. Not trembling. Just waiting. And that terrified him more than any beast he'd ever hunted. Wrenn didn't sleep that night. He sat near the edge of his shelter with his rifle across his lap, back pressed to the rough bark wall, listening to the jungle breathe in long, uneven rhythms. Not that it ever truly slept. The mist thickened. Just before dawn, curling through the leaves like ghost fingers. Branches creaked in the distance. Something howled once, then went quiet. But none of that kept him up. It was her. Syla, the girl who fell from the trap without flinching, who offered herself for death like it was a formality, not a fear. And then stood there, still as stone, like she wasn't sure what terrified her. More being devoured or being let go. He hadn't asked where she came from. Not yet. She hadn't offered, but she hadn't left either. She was sitting just inside the shelter, legs folded beneath her, hands resting on her thighs. Her skin still shimmered, but now the glow was duller low embers instead of flame. She hadn't spoken since the introduction. Hadn't blinked much either. Wrenn finally broke the silence. "You sleep with your eyes open?" She didn't answer, just shifted her gaze toward him slightly, like someone half listening to a threat. "You can lie down if you want. I'm not going to tie you up." Her head tilted. "But you did trap me. I trapped meat. You got in the way." She studied him a long moment. Then slowly, carefully, she lowered herself onto one elbow, still facing him, still watching. Her body coiled like it was ready to launch at a breath's notice. "You think I'm lying," he said. Syla didn't respond. Instead, her skin pulsed again, blue at first, then a strange shade of gray-green. "What does that color mean?" he asked, gesturing. She looked down at herself as if noticing for the first time. "Doubt and heat." "Heat?" He raised an eyebrow. "Your body gives off too much of it. I'm adjusting." He chuckled softly. "You don't have to flirt to survive here. Just saying." That made her expression harden. "Flirt? You're glowing. Talking about heat. Some guys might get the wrong idea. Then those males would not survive long." There was a short pause before Wrenn muttered, "Noted." A hum began to rise in the distant, slow, mechanical, foreign. His body tensed. He rose quickly and stepped outside the shelter, scanning the canopy. The sound was familiar, but unwelcome. Drones. A patrol pass? Not likely. This quadrant hadn't had drone activity in months. They usually avoided jungle zones like this. Too thick. Two unpredictable dots. Yla stood up fast behind him, one hand going to her side. From beneath her skin, just near the rib cage, a blade began to slide outward, grown or hidden, he couldn't tell. It looked alive, like it was part of her. "You expecting someone?" Wrenn asked, voice low. "They found me." "Who's they?" Sela didn't answer. She just stepped into the clearing, scanning the sky, her skin now shifting into deeper, darker tones, predator tones. "Get back inside," Wrenn snapped. "You don't command me," she said, but didn't move forward either. He stepped in front of her, raising his rifle. "This isn't about commanding. It's about staying alive." A whirring blur cut through the mist, low and fast. Wrenn dropped to one knee, scanning. He caught a glimpse, sleek, black, unmarked. The drone didn't fire, just observed. A scout, worse than a kill drone. Scouts meant someone was watching, targeting, tracking. "They don't shoot first," Sela murmured. "They catalog. Then they choose." "Choose what? What's worth retrieving? And what's worth burning?" That chilled him more than the rain. "Who exactly are you?" Wrenn whispered. Syla looked at him, eyes glowing now bright violet with a ring of gold at the center. A failed weapon and a stolen prize. Before he could ask what that meant, the jungle floor shook. A ripple. Something heavy was approaching, not from the air. From below. Syla, single quote's jaw clenched. They didn't come alone. In the distance, trees cracked. Whatever was coming. It wasn't scouting. It was hunting. And it was hunting her. The first tree fell with a sound like the sky cracking open, wood splintering, ground trembling, birds exploding into flight. Wrenn ducked instinctively, rifle up, eyes scanning the dark canopy where light dared not enter. The mist no longer felt like mist, it felt like breath. Hot, thick, and watching. Syla didn't flinch. She just turned slowly toward the sound, her body language eerie in its calm. Her skin darkened into a matte black, her outline blending into shadow. The blade along her side fully extended, now serrated, organic, like bone shaped into death. "How many?" Wrenn asked, his voice a whisper against the chaos rising beyond the trees. "More than 2. Less than 10. They don't move in prime numbers, she said softly, as if reciting an ancient law. Odd means chaos. Even means control. You? Speak like you know them. She didn't answer. Instead, she took a step forward, arms low at her sides, balanced. Get behind the shelter, Wrenn ordered. You're injured. Let me handle. They're not here for you, Wrenn. The way she said his name, like it tasted strange. Like it mattered. A second tree cracked and collapsed, this time closer. And then the whispering began, not in words. In something worse. Frequency. A low vibration rolled through the jungle, crawling across the ground, humming through their bones. It wasn't natural. It wasn't animal. It was a call. Or a claim. Syla gasped and dropped to one knee, hands pressed against her temples. Her eyes dimmed, her pulse light flickered, and a faint sound slipped from her lips, a note of pain and memory twisted together. They're inside, she choked. They're speaking in the pattern. What pattern? Wrenn crouched beside her, rifle in one hand, his free hand steadying her shoulder. The one that breaks us. He didn't understand. But he didn't need to. He felt it too. Something. Ancient, mathematical, invasive. Block it out, he said through gritted teeth. You're not theirs anymore. Scylla looked at him. Her eyes were glassy, but focused. She gave a slow nod and forced herself upright. Then, silence. Dead, unnatural silence. No birds. No wind. No breath. And then the shimmer. Wrenn saw it first barely. Visible, a ripple in the air, like heat waves bending the world. Something walked through the trees, tall, humanoid, but wrong. Arms too long. Legs reverse jointed. Skin wrapped in tech veins pulsing with green. Retriever, Scylla hissed. Tier 2, reinforced frame. Adaptable tactics. Kill range, 12 meters. Weak points? None unless it exposes its spine during recalibration. But it won't. Unless it believes it's alone. Great. We need to separate, she said quickly. No chance. They track by proximity signatures. If we split, they'll follow me. You'll have a chance to escape. You really think I'd let you be bait? Wrenn snapped. Syla took a deep breath, then did something reckless, something unexpected. She touched his face. Her hand was warm, trembling slightly, her fingers glowing at the edges. You were the first thing that didn't try to break me, she said. Let me return the gift. Then she stepped away, fast, too fast. Her body shifted into a blur, skin refracting jungle colors, almost invisible. She moved like a ghost. The retriever's head snapped in her direction. Wrenn cursed and surged forward, heart pounding. But he didn't call after her, because he understood now this wasn't about survival. It was about defiance. Scylla wasn't running from them anymore. She was drawing them in, and whatever was about to happen in that jungle would rewrite every assumption he had about what kind of creature she really was. The jungle burned with silence. Wrenn crouched low behind a fallen log slick with moss, heart pounding against his ribs like a war drum. Every nerve in his body screamed to go after her, to stop Scylla from becoming bait for those things. But part of him knew she wasn't bait, she was a fuse, and something was about to explode. The retriever moved slowly through the mist, its body too smooth, too calculated. Each step it took sank into the mud without a sound, but its presence was loud. In the way animals fled and trees seemed to lean away. Wrenn had faced drones before, improvised machines, old war leftovers, but this was something new. Alive in a way no machine should be. Its head twitched once, scanning. A quiet click echoed from its back as a panel opened. Small aerial scouts the size of insects zipped into the air, dispersing like spores. They pulsed with green light, scanning for bio-signatures. Wrenn held his breath. He was cloaked in mud, covered in cold. Invisible for now, but not for long. Then, a flicker. In the corner of his eye. Movement not from the retriever. From above. Syla. She was perched high in a tree like a spirit of the canopy. Her skin camouflaged so well she was a shadow's dream. She moved with ghost-like precision, crawling along a branch until she hovered just above the creature's blind. Angle. Wrenn knew what she was trying to do. He also knew it wasn't going to work. The retriever suddenly jerked its head. It knew, a trap within a trap. With a low mechanical growl. It lunged not toward Scylla, but toward him. Wrenn rolled out from behind the log just as a green energy bolt scorched the earth behind him. He fired back, the recoil nearly tearing his shoulder as the pulse round collided with the retriever's shoulder. No effect. Damn it, he yelled, diving behind a rock. Syla dropped from the tree in a flash, landing hard behind the retriever. Her arm blade extended mid-fall. She struck, not to kill, but to redirect. The retriever spun and met her mid-swipe. Their limbs collided. In a burst of sparks. Wrenn could hardly follow it. Metal on bioweapon, power against grace. She was fighting not just with fury, but with precision born from knowledge. She knew how they were built. Syla ducked under a swipe, twirled and slammed her heel into the back of the machine's leg. It staggered. That's when Wrenn saw it, the exposed spine, a glowing seam running up its back. Just for a second. His hands moved on instinct. Rifle up. Aim. Hold. Syla leapt clear. Bang. The pulse round struck true. The retriever shuddered violently. Then it collapsed like a puppet with cut strings. The silence after was deafening. Steam hissed from the corpse. The jungle trembled, unsure if it could breathe again. Wrenn stood slowly, eyes locked on the downed enemy. You said it wouldn't expose its spine, Syla exhaled, panting. It didn't. I made it think it was alone. He looked at her then. Really looked. Her hair was tangled with leaves and ash. Her skin dim but warm, bleeding faint light from a gash across her shoulder. And her eyes, though shimmering, dangerous eyes, held something new. Fear. Not for herself, for him. They'll send more, she said. They always do. Then we stay ready, he replied. No, Syla shook her head. This was a test. Not for me, for you? Wrenn frowned. What? She stepped closer, voice low. If you had failed? If you had died? They would have known I had bonded, and bonding is forbidden. His breath caught. What are you saying? He asked. She didn't answer directly. Instead, she touched the center of her chest, where her pulse glowed brightest. I'm no longer hiding what I feel, and because of that, they will hunt until one of us stops breathing. Wrenn stared at her, heart thudding. Then let them come. Syla looked at him, and for the first time, there was no mask in her expression. Only truth, and that truth would either be their salvation or their doom. Rain returned that night, not as a storm, but as a quiet warning. A hush fell over the jungle, not peaceful, but waiting. Leaves shivered without wind. The mist hung lower than usual, clinging to roots and skin like breath from a sleeping god. Wrenn sat inside the reinforced hut, rifle across his knees, eyes on the entrance. Syla sat opposite him, her knees pulled to her chest, arms folded tight. Her skin was dim now, no more pulses, no more shifts, just a low, tired glow at her collarbone. Something about that worried him more than the machines. You're too quiet, he said. You're not asking the right questions, she replied. He looked at her for a long beat. What am I supposed to ask? Syla's gaze was distant, unfocused, like she wasn't fully in the room. What I was made to do. What happens when I bond? What I become? I figured you were running from your past, he said, not your future. She smiled, but there was no joy in it. My past is science. My future is code. Wrenn didn't speak. He let the silence stretch. Finally, Scylla shifted. When my kind bonds, we don't just feel it, we transform. It's not symbolic, it's biochemical. It rewrites us. Skin. Bone. Purpose. Wrenn's fingers tensed on the stock of his rifle. That why you didn't want to touch me? I didn't want to start. The air between them thickened. Start what? He asked, voice low. She stood slowly, walked to the entrance of the hut, looking out into the wet blackness of the jungle. I was built to infiltrate, to seduce, to destroy from within. Emotional resonance was supposed to be a tool, a switch. But then I felt, not the way I was programmed, truly felt. She paused. The first time it happened, my handler was eliminated. Instant recall protocol. They saw me as a malfunction. You're not a malfunction, Wrenn said firmly. Then I'm a risk. He stood, walked toward her, stopping just behind. So am I. She turned to face him then, and for a moment they stood there in silence, so close they could hear the rhythm of each other's breath, so still that even the rain paused to watch. You don't understand, she said, her voice nearly trembling. When bonding completes, I will be rewritten again. Not by them, by us, by whatever this is between us. Then let it happen, he whispered. While a single quote's lip quivered. And if the rewrite kills me? Wrenn's hand came up, brushing a strand of damp hair from her cheek. Then at least you got to choose it. A beat passed. Then another. Her hand reached up and took his, pressing it against the side of her neck. The glow beneath her skin pulsed rapidly, spreading like warmth. You're doing it, she said, eyes wide. You're initiating the bond without even trying. Then don't stop it. But before the moment could settle, something snapped. In the distance, not a twig. Not an animal. A voice, mechanical. Filtered. Close, Unit Scylla 39. Cease proximity merge. Surrender now. Final warning, she stiffened. Her glow collapsed. Her knees buckled, and she dropped. Wrenn caught her before she hit the floor. Outside, the rain stopped like a held breath. Then came the footsteps, not metal, not bone. Something in between. Wrenn laid Scylla down gently, reached for his rifle, and stepped out into the open, heart pounding like thunder. A shape waited in the mist. Not a drone. Not a retriever. AREPLICANT. Humanoid. Tall. Flawless skin. Glowing eyes. Synthetic beauty made to imitate perfection. It looked at Wrenn and smiled like it had already won. You activated her, it said. And now she is ours again. She's not yours, Wrenn growled, aiming the rifle. The replicant tilted its head. You have no idea what you've started. Behind Wrenn, Scylla cried out in pain, her body convulsing, light pouring from her spine. Her transformation had begun, and it was far from gentle. The light pouring from Scylla's back wasn't warm. It was searing like molten fire bursting through cracks in fragile armor. Her body arched, every muscle locked in a tremor. The glow carved down her spine in lines too perfect to be natural, as if her bones themselves had become conduits for something ancient, buried, and now awakened. Wrenn dropped to his knees beside her, arms shaking as he tried to hold her down without hurting her. But she wasn't writhing from pain alone. She was changing. Scylla, stay with me, he whispered, gripping her hand. Her skin was almost too hot to touch, flickering between tones like an overloaded circuit. Her eyes shot open, and they weren't violet anymore. They were white, blank, like a void staring back at him. Behind them, the replicant stood at the tree line, unmoving, hands behind its back, calm as a priest at a funeral. It has begun, it said quietly. You interfered. Now? She will overwrite herself. She be something neither of us can control. Then you won't either, Wrenn snapped. He raised his rifle, fired a burst 3 shots, center mass. They passed right through. The replicant shimmered, glitching for a heartbeat before stabilizing again. "I am not here," it said. "Just watching." The image rippled once more and vanished into mist. Inside the hut, Scylla let out a strangled sound, half scream, half whisper. "They never told me it would feel like burning," she gasped. Wrenn pressed a cold cloth against her forehead, trying to keep her grounded. "What's happening to you?" She gritted her teeth, tears streaking down her cheeks. "My body's rejecting the old code. Every cell, every thread of their control is unraveling and rewriting around you." "Around me? You triggered it," she said, voice hoarse. "Your touch. Your choice. No handler, no chain. Real connection." Her skin flared again, this time not in pain, but defense. Her pulse exploded in a shockwave of light that knocked Wrenn backward across the hut. He hit the wall hard, ears ringing, vision spinning. Outside, animals screamed and fled. Branches snapped. The jungle trembled. By the time he staggered to his feet, she was standing, barefoot, hair hovering around her like a halo of embers. Her skin had turned a rich obsidian, laced with glowing gold veins running from her collar to her fingertips. She wasn't breathing hard anymore. She was still. Too still? He asked. She turned toward him and smiled, but it wasn't her. "Smile. Designation updated," she said in a voice layered over itself, hers and something deeper. "Bond accepted. Defensive systems online. Memories intact. Emotions unfiltered." Wrenn's heart sank. She looked like her, sounded like her. But this wasn't just Scylla anymore. "You remember me?" he asked. Her head tilted. The glow behind her eyes shimmered, dancing with recognition. "I remember the moment you chose not to eat me," she said softly. Relief surged through him, but it was cut short when she stepped forward and collapsed into his arms. Her skin dimmed. "The power drained. The shell is complete," she whispered against his chest. "But I'm not done changing. What else is left?" he asked, holding her tightly. She looked up at him. "The part where you decide whether to keep me or run from what I've become." Outside, the jungle was no longer still. From the distance came the low thump of incoming crafts. Multiple. "They're coming," Scylla said, eyes fluttering. "Not scouts, not replicants, the ones who built me." Wrenn tightened his grip, then let them come. She reached into the pouch at her side and pulled out something small, wrapped in cloth. She pressed it into his hand. A glowing shard part. "Crystal, part memory, still warm. This is my root code," she said. "My soul, if I had one, it's bound to you now. If they destroy me, you'll still have this." His jaw clenched. "I'm not losing you." Her eyes searched his, and for once there was no fear, no fire, just softness. "Then fight beside me," she said. The sky outside turned red as the dropships pierced the clouds. It was no longer about escape. This was war. The sky cracked open like glass under a hammer. Red light streaked through the jungle canopy, splitting trees in half as the dropships descended. 3 of them, silent, massive, matte black, shaped like razors. They moved without propulsion noise. Their hum buried so deep in the frequency range it made the earth vibrate but didn't touch the ears. Animals fled in packs. The mist rose higher, suffocating the clearing like breath held too long. Wrenn stood beside Scylla in the doorway of the shelter, her weight pressed into his side. She looked stable, but barely, still glowing, still alive, but her pulse light flickered with exhaustion. The transformation had torn something out of her, and now she burned on borrowed energy. He touched the crystal shard she'd given him, still tucked against his chest. It pulsed gently, matching her heartbeat. "You're not going to die here," he said, voice low. "I might," she replied, "but you won't, not if you use what I gave you." "That code?" She nodded. "It's not just a weapon. It's A signal. If you connect it to their interface, it can rewrite the directive. Their directive. You want me to hack the Empire with your soul? Yes. He exhaled. All right. The ground trembled as the dropships touched down. Hatches hissed open. What stepped out didn't look like soldiers. Not in the way Wrenn expected. They were elegant, tall, crafted, bodies of armor and biolite, faces too smooth to be real. No mouths, no eyes. Just obsidian helmets with silver veins running down their necks. The architects, not fighters, not destroyers. The ones who made the destroyers. The ones who built Sella's kind. One of them raised a hand. Sella stiffened. The air around them distorted. The machine spoke in a tone that wasn't sound, just pressure. It hit their skulls like gravity. Return the unit. Remove the bond. Scylla gasped. Her body seized again, light bleeding from her arms. They were calling her home. Wrenn stepped forward, rage boiling beneath his skin. She's not yours. No answer. They didn't recognize him as anything, not a threat. Not even a variable. Release the bond or be removed. You'll have to try, Wrenn growled. He reached beneath his shirt, pulled out the crystal, and thrust it into the side panel of his pulse rifle. It hissed as it fused metal, absorbing memory, light infusing circuitry. The weapon glowed with gold heat, and then the jungle shifted. Yla rose to her feet, every part of her trembling but fierce. Her voice cracked like thunder. Directive override. Bond confirmed. The nearest architect flickered, confused. Impossible, came the vibration. Not anymore, she said. Wrenn raised the rifle. You rewrote her once. She rewrote herself back. Now it's your turn. He fired. The pulse burst wasn't just plasma, it carried code. Soul code. The golden wave of light expanded mid-air, washing over the lead architect. It stopped moving. So did the others. The red glow in their cores faded to white, then darkened. A chain reaction began. One by one, they collapsed, not in death, but in release. The signal stripped them of control, broke the directive. Syla fell to her knees, light cascading from her chest. Did it work? She asked, voice shaking. Wrenn knelt beside her, wrapping his arms around her. They're down, all of them. I think you freed them. She blinked slowly. Then it's done. He held her tighter. Don't you fade now, you hear me? I'm not fading, she whispered. A soft glow returned to her skin, faint but steady. Then, from the sky, something strange happened. The remaining dropships powered down, but didn't retreat. Instead, they opened fully, revealing glowing seeds inside, touch pods, reclamation cores. And from each one, a pulse of neutral light shot skyward, dissolving into the clouds. Sella smiled faintly. They're erasing the network. You infected their hive. They're free to think now. They'll rebuild, he said. They'll choose now. She leaned against his chest, breath finally slowing, not from pain, but peace. Later, when the jungle was quiet again and the light had returned to a pale gold instead of red, they stood in the clearing together. No more hiding. No more running. Wrenn looked at her, changed, beautiful, still so alien, but no longer afraid. What now? He asked. She took his hand and pressed it over her heart. Now we find out what it means to live after you were meant to be used. He nodded, pulling her close. Together? She smiled. Always. And somewhere beneath the canopy of this broken, breathing world, a love not built by design, not forced by code, not planned by war, took root and began to bloom.